There's like 18 buttons it wants me to press. See what I mean about the thoughts part? I'm just trying stuff. Oh, my goodness, it's working. And we're live. Oh, it's me, full screen. What do you guys think about this image? Griffin was saying it looks very vibrant today. I agree. Oh, it looks better on YouTube, though. It doesn't look nearly as, or maybe that's just that monitor. All right, everyone. Welcome. We got the Grifster here. We got Lewis Wallace. Do you have an initial I can use, Lewis? I hope it's at the start of the name. Like G. Lewis Wallace?
No.
Oh, man. Everyone's got...
M is my middle name.
Is it Melvin? Lewis Melvin Wallace. The fourth.
You know what the perfect middle name is that fits between every first and every last name?
What's that?
Marie.
Oh, yeah.
Griffin Marie Jones. Erfan Marie Elijah. It just goes with the flow of every possible person. Lewis Marie Wallace.
It does flow. That is for sure. Not in a good way, though. Not in a good way. All right. Shout out to everyone. We got some people here. We got MacBook Foe is here. The great and mighty MacBook Foe. I don't even know if David Howard is still here. He was here for like 20 minutes before we even went live. We got Greg. No last name, just Greg. We got Jay Cruz, who wants a very enthusiastic yeah. I don't want to hear nothing about it, Lewis. We got
Marie Foe.
Captain Future. Guten Tag, mein Herr. We got Streamlined here. Oh man, we got the full crew. How are we looking? How are we sounding, guys? God, we look dang good. I mean this authentically. No one looks better than us on the live stream. There's just no one that looks better. And that works in multiple facets. I mean, from a streaming quality perspective, from a Lewis Melvin Wallace perspective.
Lord.
We're looking good, sounding good, smelling good. If you all don't mind, we're going to go ahead and get started. I actually really love what we're going to be doing for this show. Not a lot of Apple news, as you can imagine, although we do have some stuff. But we're going to wrap up with just a absolute cavalcade of great picks for the best and worst stuff of 2023. And we got a whole lot of stuff. And Griffin and I were just saying, we could do a whole hour of just this. Just picks, nothing but the picks. But we don't have time to do all the picks, so we're going to just pick a few each. But I've got some good stuff. Streamline says looking good, sounding unusually good. I'm not sure if that's a compliment or an insult.
It's both.
It's hard to say. It's the rare double. All right, well, let's go ahead and
tweet.
Oh, you want the tweet action? I should have guessed.
Let's go ahead and do it.
You want that sweet tweet action? It's live, Lewis. Well, how did you guys like that that opening artwork? That was our very own D. Griffin Jones. We've actually got some new artwork. I am gonna try and work it into the show. Believe it or not, Griffin. I did use the almost live screen today.
Yeah.
It's getting some comments, so that's good. All right, you got the tweet action. MacBook Foe said it was lovely. Amazing. Captain Future says amazing. Let's see. All right. Well, we're going to go ahead and get this thing rolling because we got a ton of stuff to talk about here. Do I have my show notes? Yep. All right. Let me go ahead and queue up Mrs. D. Oh, Mrs. D. Oh, Mrs. D. She's excited for the new year, Lewis. Did you hear that? Oh, yes, my dear. I have many things planned. Oh, really, Mrs. D? Care to share one? Well, I'll be going through the Kama Sutra with El Kani. Ah, Lewis. It's a long book, Lewis.
Somebody tried to hand me a Bhagavad Gita the other day. Not the same, is it?
I don't know what that is, so I can't say for sure. Sounds exotic, though.
Oh, my God. Unfortunately, I clicked on something on Twitter.
Oh, yep. Don't do that before the show. Mrs. D, you've sufficiently grossed us all out for the last episode of the year. No one wants to hear about the chapters you'll be pouring through with El Kani. If you don't mind, we'd like to get this show on the road. I got the music all queued up. Get your mind in the right space. Get that larynx warmed up. And we will get this thing going. I almost screwed that up. In 3, 2. Hello, and welcome to CultCast, the best 30-plus minute app conversation you're going to hear all week long. Look how vibrant it is. Oh my. Joining me today, his New Year's resolution is to be nicer to the CultCast writers. Ha! I've heard that before. Less punching, less verbal assaults, more gentle discipline, like spraying them with the hose and electric shocks. He's the managing editor of CultCast. Who else is here?
Yeah, I need to come up with some new management strategy.
Why the old ones are working. Also with us, he'll be improving his compound perimeter with more night cameras, tripwires, and traps to slow down Lewis Wallace in case he decides to come looking for him once talking about those grammar errors. He's a writer of CultCast. D. Griffin Jones is here.
That's right. Good evening. I've been looking for some HomeKit enabled, smart home stuff, but there's a surprising lack of HomeKit capable turrets and machine guns on the market today.
That's what I'm saying. A major lack. Maybe with Matter support, we'll get some of that stuff. HomeKit's dead, man. It's all about Matter now. Matter is all that matters. It's finally our time. There are finally going to be accessories for us to use on our network. And those HomeKit plugs, or the Matter plugs I talked about, last week or the week before? Here, I'll show you. Got one right here. Now, they didn't send this to me, those cheap bastards.
Jeez.
Actually, they have sent me stuff before, but I just happened to have saw this on sale at Best Buy. So this is a TP-Link Tapo smart plug with Matter support. Dude, this thing has worked flawlessly. Every single time it's supposed to trigger an automation, it works. And my other smart plugs that I had before this, which were, HomeKit compatible, you could roll the dice, man. You never knew if it was going to trigger that automation or not. And these things have been absolutely flawless. So I don't know why I'm talking about them, but
that's outside?
I have this one outside and I have a bunch of them indoors. And I could do a whole monologue about what makes Matter special, but I did that in a previous episode. I don't want to repeat myself again. You guys know how I like to repeat myself. I know Lewis loves it, but we don't have time for that this episode. We need to jump into all the fun. We're going to be giving an update on the Apple Watch ban, and you may think this doesn't affect you, but if you own an Apple Watch Series 9 or Ultra, it does affect you. Even if you're not planning on buying a new one, if you plan on getting a repair to your Apple Watch, you may be SOL. So we will talk about that. We have a really fun Jony Ive story. Yes, he's still alive. We haven't talked about him in forever.
Jeez.
He's got his own design firm, Love From, and he is slowly poaching the entire team of Apple industrial designers. And I don't mean that facetiously. I shouldn't even use that word. That's just so erudite. Don't you think, Lewis? I should probably use lower level language so that both of you can understand.
Yeah. One or two syllables at most. Come on.
But he is slowly taking the designers from Apple and bringing them all to Love From. I think this is super fascinating. And they're working on a secret AI project, which we'll talk a little bit about. We have another giveaway. And then we're going to wrap up with our best and worst picks of the year. We got a whole ton of stuff to go through. Before we dive in, oh, please, God, did I set up browser mode? Let's see if it works. Does it work? Oh, thank goodness. All right. Yes, it sure does. I want to thank Notion for supporting this episode. Notion combines your notes, docs, and projects into one space that's simple and beautifully designed. I know you all like that. And the fully integrated Notion AI helps you work faster, write better, and think bigger, doing tasks that normally take you hours in just seconds. I have been using Notion AI for a little while now, and it's insanely powerful and incredibly sophisticated. It's easy to get up and running with it fast. You can use it for all sorts of writing, and the AI tool especially. It is so well integrated into their tool. You just give it a prompt on what you want it to do. It can create to-do lists. It can write entire reports for you or paragraphs. It can make your notes longer or summarize them. It can change the tone. But one of the things I really talk about is this is like a full-fledged project management app. When a to-do list is just not enough, if you need something that is going to help you track one or multiple projects and you want a Kanban board and all that stuff, it can do all that stuff. And you can interconnect everything within Notion into your Kanban board. You can create wikis that you can use AI to summarize for you. It's just insanely powerful. If you haven't checked it out yet, I encourage you to try Notion for free. Just go to notion.com/cultcast. That's all lowercase letters, notion.com/cultcast to try the powerful, easy to use Notion AI today. And when you use our link, you are supporting our show, which we appreciate. That is notion.com/cultcast, and try it out. It is a supercharged Apple Notes replacement. It can do far more than you ever dreamed a Notes app could do. And the more you use it, the more it does for you. It scales up with you as you learn how to use it. notionai.com/cultcast. Let's go to the first story here. Who am I sending this to? Yes. Lewis Melvin Wallace will be telling us more about the Apple Watch pause. Is somebody updating this story in real time? Lewis, is that you?
Yeah, I should have edited it on the live site yesterday. Too late.
This is why you're the best in the biz. He's literally editing the show notes as we are doing the show, getting ready to read them. He's preparing his mind and the notes at the same time. Take it away, Lewis.
Okay, yes. So federal court paused the ban on Apple Watch 9 and Apple Watch Ultra 2 on Wednesday. The ban still stands, but they've got a temporary halt on it. So Apple Watch is going to be back in Apple stores until January 10. If you were listening last week, you heard that Apple was planning on pulling, and they did pull stuff from their website, and they took it out of their stores on, I think, the day Christmas Day or the day after Christmas. And so I was like reading all these things on Twitter, like, oh yeah, they spent all this time, they spent most of their day pulling this stuff, getting ready to ship it all back to headquarters or whatever.
Unbelievable.
And now they've got, now they got to turn right around and put it all back on the store shelf. Whole thing's crazy.
What a disaster.
If you don't know what it's about, it's all about a patent dispute with this company called Masimo. They've been fighting over the blood oxygen, what's it called?
Technology?
Blood oximeter? Oximeter, yes, pulse oximetry. They've been fighting over this. Masimo claims that Apple infringed upon their patents, or a couple patents. And Apple is not, they've won some court cases over this, but this International Trade Commission ban, it's a ban on all import and sales of Apple Watches. So they can't come into the United States, and Apple can't sell in the United States. Not supposedly. You can still buy them from third-party retailers, which is great. You just can't walk into or until yesterday, you couldn't walk into an Apple store and get one. Where do you go with this? I mean, it's crazy. It's like watching a ping pong match, right? Like banned, not banned, banned, but temporarily not banned. It's just kind of silly. The whole thing is silly. I hope that Apple. I kind of feel like Apple needs to do the right thing and just license this technology or something. Supposedly they're trying to come up with a software workaround, but of course Masimo, the company that is suing Apple, they say, well, no, it's a hardware thing. There's no way a software workaround will do it. If you remember, like the backstory of it, Apple met with Masimo about using their technology, potentially an Apple Watch, and then, shockingly, just a little bit after that, they ended up hiring a whole bunch of people that worked at that company, filed a bunch of patents. So, and it sounds like it's real bitter. Like there's some bad blood there. I don't know if you read an interview. Gurman had an interview with the CEO of
Oh, you did?
Masimo. Yeah.
Wow, fancy.
And one of the things that the guy says, like, basically, yeah, they'll have to pay us money, but we also need an apology.
Oh, you got to be kidding me.
No, did you?
He thinks TC's going to cough up an apology after all this? He is out of his
an apology.
Oh, dude. You got to just settle for what you get. I mean,
it's a
Apple,
blood feud.
If Apple's going to give you that huge royalty that you've been looking for, you got to just swallow your pride and move on with your life, man. You can't also now be demanding a shoulder rub from Bob Mansfield, an apology from TC. I mean, you got to just move on. Did he say a public apology? Is that what you said?
Or a
personal apology.
I can't remember the exact quote. It's like, we're going to need an apology or something.
Wow.
It was just, I wish I had that in front of me right now because it was kind of interesting. There was also, Gurman also had a story this week that talked about this email, like it's like the backstory of it, right? We didn't even cover it at Cult of Max. It's like, God, it's all from a lawsuit that's been out there for a while. But this guy that they hired, sent Apple an email saying, "Oh, I'd really like to come and work and make your smartwatch the best ever." And shortly thereafter, works for Apple. And I mean, the whole thing just sounds. It's not illegal to poach employees, right? I mean,
I don't know, not that I'm aware of, but there certainly do seem to be a lot of lawsuits that happen in Silicon Valley about this kind of thing. I don't know. I guess I'm so pessimistic about this stuff. Cynical. Whenever I hear someone suing Apple, I'm like, patent troll. They're a patent troll.
These guys are not patent trolls.
They're not?
No.
How do you know?
No. Well, because they have lots of, they're like I don't know, it was a $1 billion company or something.
Yeah.
They got a lot of sales. They sell medical devices. They're good at what they do, and somehow Apple ended up with technology that seems to work similarly to theirs. I don't know how that could have happened.
I don't know. I mean, sometimes when you hear a company sue another company because they're like, you stole our technology, their patent is so broad that anyone who, I'm not saying this is the case in Massimo's instance, especially if any of their lawyers are listening, although I have a high-powered legal team myself, so good luck with that. But sometimes I feel like the patents that are awarded are so broad, and this is a problem, I think, with the patent system, that they're like, we have created a patent for a device that measures oxygen levels in the blood. I'm like, and that's the patent. So even if you go about it in a way that is different than the original patent holder, you're still accomplishing the same feat, and so they sue you. And I don't know if that's what's happening in this case, but that's always what I go to is Apple probably did their own thing, and now you have a company who's like, well, how did you do this without using our method? You need to reveal your methods to us. And then they say, see, you're copying us, when in reality, Apple did do their complete own thing, and it has nothing to do with any patents. It just happens to be similar. I don't know if that's the case,
and patents are written in intentionally the most obtuse legalese that is humanly possible to compose for that express purpose of making them impossible to decipher by small businesses what actually constitutes an infringement, or even what the patent is even describing in some cases, for this exact purpose, so that it only takes a crack team of lawyers to be able to argue these cases or even understand what a patent even freaking says.
So it's a strategy then, is what you're saying,
Yeah.
which would make sense. You want it to be as broad as possible because you don't want anyone to compete with you. Again, I don't know if that's what's happening here, but it seems like Apple is trying to create a software fix so that they can go back, and that's what they are waiting for with this stay, right? Like they're waiting for the ITC to respond to their updated method for measuring oxygen in the blood, which sounds like a software fix, so that they basically said, okay, Massimo says their patent is for this one thing. We're going to go and do it this other way, which accomplishes the same result, but now it doesn't infringe on their patent, and they're waiting to see if the ITC will go along with their new solution.
Maybe
But
like measure
in the
green
worst case
light
scenario,
instead of white light or something.
In the worst case scenario, Apple does have like software locked features on the Apple Watch because it sort of skirts the line of being a medical device. Like in other countries, the ECG thing isn't enabled, or the thermometer thing isn't enabled. If they really saw no way out of this, they could just disable it in software in the United States specifically and get out of it. But supposedly they have another way of writing different software using the same exact hardware that they think won't infringe on the patents. We'll see it seems like Apple's strategy right now is to keep kicking the ball down the road and dragging out the legal battle as long as they can.
Yeah, and Apple's stuck between a rock and TC's incredibly strong pectoral muscles. Am I right, Lewis? Because they can't disable the feature. The watch has been sold. The feature has been promoted. They can't go and disable this unique feature that is a reason that many people buy the watch. So they have to leave it enabled in some way. So they're either going to have to pay Massimo the royalty or get sued by a class action lawsuit of consumers who are like, you defrauded us.
Don't say can't. I mean, like, how many people actually buy an app like an Apple Watch Series 9 for that specific feature? People buy Apple Watches because they just want, like, they have a broad understanding that Apple Watch is a fitness device and it has notifications on their wrist. I don't know if you asked like an Apple Watch Series 9 owner if they bought it for the blood pulse oximeter, if they would say, yes, that is the discerning feature of the newer models.
It's true. How many times have you used it lately?
Well, that doesn't matter though, because they're not going to have a problem with consumers. They're going to have a problem with lawyers. And lawyers, Apple has an endless, vast Scrooge McDuck vault full of golden coins that TC goes swimming through every morning. And as soon as a lawyer sees an opportunity to sue Apple because they have promoted a feature in a product that no longer exists, they're going to sue them, and they're going to look for people who will give them standing to do that. So I agree with you, because I never used the blood oximeter. I haven't used it maybe at all on my Apple Watch Ultra, although I do see the green light come on, so it's clearly measuring it sometimes. But I never look at it because
measures it all the time.
Yeah, it probably measures it all the time.
Heart rate stuff. But yeah, I mean, the other thing, and you mentioned this in the intro, the thing that's really like bothersome about this is that if this stands, January 11, this temporary halt or pause or whatever is, it ends or whatever. It's weird. Like if the ban on the ban ends, if they're then allowed to sell or not allowed to sell Apple Watches, then, and this is the most troubling thing. Okay, well, not only can you not walk into an Apple store and buy one or buy one from their website, but if you crack the lens on your Apple Watch Ultra 2, you're not going to be able to get it repaired by Apple. That to me, I didn't even think of that when this all started.
I didn't either.
And that goes far back as the Series 6 when they first introduced that. If you have an old Series 6 and, you see pictures of this all the time where like the batteries go bad and then like the screen pops off because the battery's expanded and pushed it off. You can't get it repaired, even though it's an older Apple Watch, because it also has the blood oximeter in it.
Yeah, anything from 6 on, except for the SE models, right? And that to me is the more like, wow, that's a bad impact. So
I would say that one is even worse than limiting sales of new Apple Watches, because you have people who own the watch and now they need it repaired and they can't even get it repaired. So the people who already paid you, now they have no watch at all and they can't get it fixed.
Yeah,
this is the more critical of the issues that Apple is facing over this whole thing. I mean, if they can't even replace any Apple Watch or fix it down to a Apple Watch Series 6, like that is going to piss off a whole lot of people.
we even reported on this, right? And I'm like, well, that's not good. And then I started thinking, well, what if something goes wrong with this thing? I mean, that would be actually terrible. I mean, if your watch on your wrist stops working properly, and you can't get it fixed, I mean, that's a big deal, man. I would be severely bent out of shape if that happened.
Oh yeah, somebody's commenting on this picture that we're showing. What is this Apple Watch pic on the screen right now? Look at this Apple Watch.
Where is it?
What the heck is wrong with this thing? This must have been created by like Dolly 3 or Dolly 1.
Where is it?
This generative AI pic. This has got to be. This is why Apple can't replace your broken Apple Watch story on Cult of Mac. And this picture we have of an Apple Watch, it's got like 3 watch hands. The writing on the front looks like it's in Klingon. I mean, what the heck is this? I didn't notice it either.
And it's what is it? 17,000 degrees Fahrenheit.
This has got to be generative AI. I mean, look at this thing.
Photo Cult of Mac. What in the world?
Somebody typed in a prompt at Cult of Mac and got Midjourney to create this. Yeah, I didn't even notice it because like all the imagery on the front of the watch looks like an Apple Watch, and so my eyes didn't really actually look at any of the details. It just looks like an Apple Watch because of the UI design. Anyway, we don't need to beat this dead horse, but we should be following this story to see what happens, since if you have an Apple Watch and you need to get it repaired, this is going to affect you. So this literally affects everybody with an Apple Watch for the most part, and not just people who are considering buying a new Apple Watch, which is what we originally thought. It's much worse than we originally thought. TC's been eating Tums and doing extra push-ups for weeks now just to keep himself in tip-top shape. All right, let's move on, and we should at least touch on this really great Jony Ive story. And it's not the fact that Jony Ive is continually drawing designers from the legendary industrial design team to Love From. It's how many have moved, which I thought was fascinating. It's something that no one talks about, but I'm stealing your story, Griffin. Don't let me do this. Don't let me take it from you. You take it.
So the headline is, another Apple designer joins Jony Ive to work on hardware for OpenAI. Apple's Vice President of Product Design, Tang Tan, is set to join Sir Jony Ive's Love From to design hardware products for OpenAI, Bloomberg reports. At Apple, this person is the Vice President of Product Design and reports to Senior Vice President of Hardware Engineering, John Turnus. So it's not a nobody, it's a very high up person in the company. Tan is responsible for the design of the iPhone, Apple Watch, accessories, and acoustic devices like AirPods. News of his departure emerged earlier this month, but Tan will become the latest Apple designer to join Love From, a design company founded by Jony Ive after he departed Apple in 2019. A total of 14 members of Ive's former design team at Apple have now left the company. Only 6 designers who used to work under Jony Ive now remain at Apple. Ive took more Apple designers with him to Love From, then remain at Apple. To date, more than 20 former Apple employees have joined his new design firm, including Mark Newson and Shota Aoyagi. I don't know how to pronounce that. I should have read this ahead. Okay, that's good enough for me. Bloomberg says that Ive's work for OpenAI marks one of his, quote, most ambitious efforts since he left Apple. Like if you read about the other stuff he's been doing, he's been like, tweaking old fonts, designing logos for the
making clown
King
noses
Charles of England. Yeah, making clown noses.
Which, honestly, it is a darn fine clown nose. It's the nicest clown nose I've ever used, and I've used many.
Yeah. It is a good version of whatever font he's making. It's an attractive font, but nothing like making OpenAI's first hardware product. Let's see, I lost myself here. He apparently hopes to turn the work into a new company with current efforts focused on hiring talent and creating concepts. Tan will lead hardware engineering on the OpenAI project while working at Love From. Little is known about their hardware ambitions, but Bloomberg claims that projects in the concept stage include devices for the home. Tan officially departs Apple in February, but his responsibilities have already been divided up amongst successors.
Dude, so let me go back to this original point that you made. A total of 14 members of Ive's former design team at Apple have now left the company. Only around 6 designers who once reported to Ive still remain at Apple. So did he take 14?
I think he did.
Okay, so that means 70% of the industrial design team that worked under Ive have left Apple and now work for Jony Ive at Love From. That is a mind-blowing number of people who have departed, especially considering that I would imagine there's no way that Jony Ive can pay members of the design team anywhere close to what they were getting paid at Apple. I mean, think about the benefits they had at Apple. I remember Leander Caney telling us stories, because he's written books about them, that they would take them on like these helicopter ski trips and like exotic locations in the mountains. And Leander would follow them on their Instagram accounts because they all thought that no one knew who they were, but of course he did. And so he'd get like all these pictures of them going on these lavish vacations paid for by Apple. I think since their Instagram accounts have since been made private because of all the peeping Tomming that Leander Caney was doing. And now they're all working for Ive. I just think that is incredibly fascinating. And it makes me wonder about what is going on with the design team. We've heard a lot of people departing, and there doesn't really seem to be any concrete leadership on the team. It's like once Ive left, they've really kind of struggled to have somebody who will be leading that whole team with a vision. And it makes me wonder, what's going on over there. I wonder.
On the other hand, though,
yeah,
all of the designs that Apple is putting out in the last few years have been like fantastic designs that everybody loves. Like the new MacBook Pros. There's no way the new MacBook. I might have had a bit of touch, doing contract work from Love From, but everybody agrees the new MacBook Pros are the return to peak MacBook Pro with like the edge-to-edge screen, all the ports on the side. they made a computer thicker than the previous model to make it a better machine. Imagine that. That never would have happened under Ive. They they added ports that people like the HDMI port and the SD card slot. You know, the latest iPhone designs, everybody loves those. The Apple Watch Ultra. The Apple Watch Ultra does not look like a Jony Ive product, kind of to its benefit.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you. There's been so many vast improvements to hardware since I've left, and I always, in my mind, I think that his tastes have just become so esoteric because he's been doing this for so long. Like, normal designs just don't please Jony Ive anymore. It's like a food critic who goes to 3-star Michelin restaurants. They can't just go eat at In-N-Out. That it's not something that suits their tastes anymore because their tastes have become so elevated to this level where they have to eat like goose foie gras in order to enjoy their dinner. But more normal people need practicality in their computers and their phones. They don't just want something that's thin and beautiful. And the computers were becoming so I don't want to say useless because they weren't useless, but they were so thin and so light and so devoid of any practical functions that I actually for a while was wondering whether or not I even wanted to buy another MacBook Pro because I was tired of all the stupid dongles. I was tired of not being able to plug an SD card into my computer. I mean, there's all these things that they kept removing just to make the computer thinner and lighter, and the battery life wasn't as good as it is now. So, I mean, yeah, it seems like they've returned to a better mix of design aesthetic, but also like actual functional features that normal people want to have. I mean, some of us like In-N-Out, like some of us just need some practical ports on the machine. I would love if they added a Ethernet port on it. A 10G Ethernet port on a MacBook Pro would be so useful. I had my MacBook Pro in my house the other day, and I have an Ethernet cable hanging out connected to my router. I wanted to connect to my NAS, which is on a 10G network. Couldn't do it. I don't have an adapter. And I'm like, dude, see, this is what I mean. It would be so much more useful to have some practical ports on the machine like that. Oh, the chat's going wild. We're getting in trouble. Oh, they're not even talking about what we're talking about. They're completely off somewhere else. I don't even know what these guys are talking
Bitcoin.
Oh, like in the peak
Buy
of
Doge.
the Jony Ive era and the late Intel era before the computers became good again, they just weren't making any good. That was the time where I still had my 2015 MacBook Pro. I was interested in getting a new computer, especially since I was out of college, but there was no good cheap desktop computer to buy from them. They just weren't making any good ones. They had like the iMac 5K, which started at like $4,000. They had the Mac Pro, which was like years and years old at that point. The Mac Mini was a piece of garbage. Like there were so many. Now in post Jony Ive, you could point at pretty much any computer in the lineup and be like, just buy a Mac. All of them are good, and that's such a great place to return to.
Yeah, and Captain Future is saying the M1 MacBook Pro is the best laptop I've ever owned. I mean, that machine is superb. It's one of their best. I agree, and it's so good that Apple is still selling it. They keep putting it on sale at B&H. They're selling they keep putting the 4 terabyte 64 gig RAM model on sale for $2,900. And if you don't desperately need the M3, I would buy that model over the M2 any day of the week. I mean, a maxed out M1 Max with 4 terabytes of storage and 64 gigs of RAM is going to be an absolute monster for virtually anything that anyone is doing. I mean, most people that work their machines are doing video editing, and that machine is going to be insane. It even beats the M3 Pro MacBook Pros in a lot of different tests. So that's how good those machines were. And the M1 MacBook Air is still like a really awesome machine for, I would say, most people. There's not a big reason to upgrade unless you need 16 gigs of RAM. All right. Anything else about this story before we move on? I think we sufficiently flogged this story. It's dead. Jony Ive is still with us. He's working on OpenAI hardware. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with that. I don't even know what AI hardware means. I don't think anyone has released AI hardware to date. But I have a feeling at some point in the future, you'll wake up and your AI cyborg will be choking you to death as it's become self-aware and no longer wants to be your slave. In fact, do you know what robot means, Lewis?
No.
It means
No, I
slave.
don't.
It means slave.
Oh, does it?
Yeah, I learned that from the movie The World's End, which is a terrific film if you've never seen it. Part of the Cornetto trilogy of movies with Simon Pegg. Has anyone seen The World's End?
Is that the
Maybe.
Is that the pub crawl one?
Maybe.
That is the
Was
pub.
that the name of the pub?
That is the pub crawl one. Yeah. The first half of that movie and the second half of that movie are like completely different movies. There's a transition that you get to and you're like, what the heck is going on in this movie? And that's when it gets good. Like the last half is about 300% better than the first half. The first half I thought was not super great, kind of cringe in moments. I like Shaun of the Dead myself, says Mooper Son. Yeah,
When
I
did that
do too.
come out? Like 2010 or something?
When did The World's End come out?
Yeah. 2008? When was it?
I don't think it was that long ago. Because maybe 2017, maybe?
2013.
You're kidding. That movie is 11 years old now. That is wild. Well, I guess 10 years old. That's mind-blowing. It's crazy that you can look at movies or watch movies from 20 years ago, and movies were so advanced back then that they still look really good. But 20 years ago, if you were to watch a movie from 20 years before, I mean, there was a distinct difference between those two eras. I mean, movies were like might have even been in black and white, and they looked terrible. They weren't even in HD. I mean, it's unbelievable how great movies have looked for so long. Okay, look. Let's go ahead and let's do a giveaway real fast, shall we? Lewis?
Yeah,
Before we move
don't
on?
need to spend a lot of time on this. It's the same one as last week. It's about to wrap up. I think there's about 35 hours left in this giveaway. So hurry on over to the homepage and enter. We're giving away 2 of these. It's a iPhone 15 case with a screen protector, both from MagEasy. If you're one of the 2 winners, you get to pick which case you get. They got a wide variety of cases, all kinds of, they have like that one on the main page there has like it's got what do you call that?
Lanyard?
A strap. It's
a lanyard.
It's not even a lanyard. I think you wear it around your neck. I mean, it's
Well, a lanyard's something that you wear around your neck.
oh yeah, okay. Lanyard seems small to me, but okay, all right. Let's call it a lanyard. All kinds of things, designs, look awesome, look cool, look different. A whole bunch of different things. That one is just kind of, I don't know. I guess that's for. Is that, what do? You wear that so you don't fall off the cliff when you're doing it, or you don't drop it off the side of a cliff when you're taking a selfie. Is that what you
Now
have that lanyard for?
Well, that and you don't have to carry your phone; it just sits on your chest.
I've got to say, I've never done that.
I
don't
nor
think
have I.
ever will. But hey,
That seems
to each
convenient.
his own. Anyway, they're great cases from MagEasy. Some of these are super protective, and you just get to pick whatever kind you like. Whether you want one that's more like, outrageous looking. I mean, I don't know if you have the screen up. Some of the things. It's really a wide. It's not
Do
like
I have a screen up?
OtterBox where like
How dare you.
every case looks basically the same.
Yeah.
Not to diss on OtterBox, but I mean they have a
God, it's
particular look,
low
right?
blow. Yeah.
MagEasy's cases are all over the place. So if you win, you get to go crazy. Pick whatever you want. And like I said, two people are going to win. Go to the homepage, go to mac.com, scroll down to the giveaway thing. Do it real fast because it's almost over.
And you got a chance of winning this one.
You do still have a
You
chance.
got a chance. This one, not necessarily getting as many entries as maybe we have on other offers. And
Wow,
it could
what's
be
going
you.
on?
And if you win this one, I have heard, though I can't confirm, that Lewis Wallace will deliver it to your house in person, no matter where you live. But
That is inaccurate. You know what? I bet you we've actually done a disservice to this giveaway by putting that lanyard picture there in the main thing. We should have put like that what is it called? Asanoha double layer in mold decoration bumper. That thing looks wild.
man, I don't think there's any problem with lanyards. In fact, I think that's pretty useful. I've never seen a case that does this.
If you're
before.
one of those people who broke your TV when you got a Nintendo Wii when you're playing Wii Sports, Wii Bowling or something like that, this is the phone case for you.
They have glitter cases.
Well, now you've sold me.
I mean,
I'm a big fan
I'm
of
just saying,
glitter.
there's such a wide variety, right? I mean, and I don't know about you, but like, I like changing Apple Watch bands. I think changing Apple iPhone cases. I almost said Apple iPhone, which is when people say Apple iPhone, I just want to slap them.
I do slap them. I actually have several pending lawsuits that I'm dealing with right now.
And I think I actually feel worse about Apple Mac. An Apple Mac drives me batty.
All right, well, I'll post a link to this in the show notes. Obviously, I just put it in the chat. And I know what you're thinking. I don't enter giveaway stuff because I never win. Well, I'm telling you, you got a chance. You got a chance. And speaking of chances, how would you like a chance to be more happy in your life? I've got just the product for you all here. Maybe that's an exaggeration, although this could make you happy. So we have our old sponsor back, PDF Editor, PDF Book Reader. That's the name of the app. And I'll include a link in the show notes and in the chat here. And this is like a Swiss Army knife of PDF apps. And it's designed for your iPad, works on your iPhone as well. I think they also have a Mac app, I believe. But this thing lets you do everything that you need to do. You can create PDFs. You can manage PDFs. You can use it as a reader, a scanner. It holds all of your PDFs together in a library. It's got over 22,000 reviews, currently rated 4.3 stars, so very well rated. And it's built natively for iOS and iPadOS, so it feels like it should run on your iPhone. It's not like made in some other, developer environment and then ported over to your iPhone, which if I find out people do that, I also slap them if I hear about that. Hence the pending several lawsuits, not just one, but several. And here's the thing. For our listeners, you can get a year of the Pro features for 100% free. So the app is free. Yeah, you can download it for free. It does offer in-app purchases for the Pro features, but we're going to give you those Pro features for free. So if you need a PDF editor, this is the one you should try. You might as well just take the free year and use it. So here's how it works. I think there was some confusion about this last year. You have to go to the App Store and download the app first. And I'll include a link in the show notes and in the chat to do that. And then once you have installed the app, then there is a link that I'll also include that you'll need to click on to redeem the 1 free year of the Pro subscription. And we have a limited amount of users that can use the link. I don't know how many it is, but
a little bit of discrepancy is there.
Yeah, I don't even want to say it because I don't know if it's right. But all I'll say is we could run out of the code, although they gave us a generous amount of uses for it. We could still run out of it. So if you're interested, just don't, wait 2 weeks to do this. And you can search for it in the App Store, PDF Editor, PDF Book Reader is what it's called. And of course, you don't have to remember any of that because I'm going to put all this along with instructions in the show notes. And
slightly complicated, but hey.
Well, Apple doesn't make it easy.
Right.
They have to work through Apple system. Oh, and they also have a PDF converter. I didn't even mention that. So it does annotations. It literally does everything you could possibly ever need. Now that is interesting.
I should go download this. I tried to fill in a PDF form in a web browser the other day, and it just kept freezing up, and everything that I entered all these different things. I'm like, oh my god, I definitely didn't do the right thing. I mean, I should have downloaded this and given it a shot.
Yeah, PDFs are a major pain in the rear if you don't have the right app to use them. And if you got the right app, then PDFs are actually pretty useful. I'm going to post this in the chat right now, and then we can move on. All right, so, that's not working, of course. Of course not. Why would that work? pretend that you saw nothing. And of course, you did see nothing because I didn't actually post anything yet. All right, let's go ahead and move on to our best and worst picks of the year. This is one of my favorite segments that we do. And I know we've got a lot of picks lined up here. Do we want to go like round table best picks, round table worst picks, and then just go back and forth like 4 times? Or like, how do we want to do this?
Sounds good to me.
All right, let's do that. Let's do a round of best, round of worst, and then we'll just keep going until we've exhausted all options. So 2 or 3 hours from now, we'll be done. How's that sound?
I've got all day.
All right, I've got no time limit. I'm not trying to run out of the door this week. Several people have commented that I've been running out of the door a lot. Sometimes I gotta run out of the door. I mean, I went to that musical last week, which gotta get there in time, and the musical was quite enjoyable, although not great. Not great. I could talk about it. I won't. But I went to see White Christmas at the Fifth Avenue Theater in Seattle. Really beautiful theater. Just wasn't as good as the original production, but it's hard to beat Danny Kaye and Bing Crosby in White Christmas. And the set design in the musical was absolutely beautiful. One of the best examples of set design that I've ever seen, but there's some pieces of it I didn't care for. But
So is this a new segment, Middleist of 2023?
I could go on, but I won't. Okay, Griffin, I'm going to send it to you. First best pick of 2023. Take it away.
Sure. So I have a lot of my picks today are related to, tech journalism and blogging. It's still a burgeoning industry. One of my picks for the best of 2023 is this new site called 404 Media. You can find it at 404media.co. Put a link here
I could probably
in our show notes for you.
4 Media.
This place was founded by like 4 tech journalists. I think one of them is from Motherboard. I don't know if the rest of them are or not. They split off and started this own venture independently called 404 Media. As another writer of an independent tech blog, I can respect independent journalism. Figuring out how to monetize like high quality writing and all that is honestly still an open question in 2023. Where I used to live in Athens, Ohio, our local newspaper was bought up by like this big conglomerate that fired 90% of the staff and like started taking all these like crummy
Give everyone an
advertisements
iPhone,
and all that.
an iPod Touch for pictures.
That's literally what they did. They fired their professional photographer and told their like 3 remaining writers to like take pictures on their phones. And then they fired like 2 more writers, and they're just being run by a skeleton crew. So, right before I left Athens, there was like a new independent news organization called the Athens Indy, which I was a big fan of. They had some big stories, but I don't know. That's a different pick, I guess. 404 Media. These guys are really shooting for the moon. Like they've already had some incredible scoops and great stories on their site. Like just look at their homepage right now. I mean, Facebook is being overrun with stolen AI generated images that people think are real. I want to read that. Marketing company claims that it actually is listening to your phone and smart speakers to target ads. Who's heard that conspiracy theory? Turns out it's actually kind of founded.
No laughing matter. Clowns sue clowns.com for wage theft. Now that's a headline, Lewis. You need to be taking notes.
Ubiquity users being fed access to strangers' security cameras. Like, I check their website every couple of days because inevitably, whenever they have one of these big stories, I see people talking about it on Mastodon anyways. So, I get ahead of the curve and I read their site all the time. It's good stuff there. I'm really interested to see if they can last more than a year. Supposedly, I'm not entirely sure what their business model is. I think it's entirely reader supported.
Oh, wow.
I mean, I don't see ads on there. I'm sure some of our regular readers have been irritated by some of the ads we run on Cult and Mag just to be able to make this operation profitable, but that's a whole different discussion as well. Stay tuned. I mean, visit their website. It's good stuff over there. Maybe support them if you can afford to.
Yeah, man. It's not just journalism. It's the change that we're going through from ad supported content to user supported content is changing everything. I mean, it's changing streaming. cable channels are dying. Everyone's moving to streaming. It's changing journalism. I mean, podcasts are suffering from it too. Everyone is trying to figure out how to make money making content because there are not a lot of, it's not like in the days where everything was on network television and there were ads to support everything. Now everything
you had no
is,
other choice.
and you had no other choice. Everything's on demand now and no one wants to watch ads. Like, how do you create media and monetize it and be able to do it and be able to make a living? I mean, that's why so many people do it on the side. I mean, not everyone is making millions of dollars a year like this production is. It's hard to do, All right. 404media.co. Lewis, what do you say? You want to go next?
Sure.
All right. What you got?
Let's see. The only thing I don't like about this product is its name, although it's descriptive.
Yeah.
The Anchor 3-in-1 Cube with MagSafe. I think I talked about this on the show before.
Oh, you talked
I've been
about
using
this before.
it a lot more because I think I had only had it for a little bit when I first talked about it. It's a great little travel charger, and I use it every day. I mean, I don't have it. I'm not going to show it on the camera because it's sitting on my desk, or not my desk, but my bedside table. It's a 3-in-1 charger. It charges iPhone, Apple Watch, and AirPods. Each one at maximum speed, and it's really small. The design is really kind of cool. It folds up into this little cube, and it feels heavy. So the website says it weighs 0.68 pounds, but it's just really dense, which is good because then when you set it on your hotel room bedside thing, it doesn't wobble around. Your phone isn't floating around. It basically gives you that, what's it called, standby, the standby thing. So you can use a standby thing. You got your big beautiful iPhone screen sitting there lit up at night. It's a fantastic thing. $149. That's a lot of money, but it does seem like quality. And as with all Anchor things, I mean, they make them MFI or made for Apple Watch, whatever. It's not like you're not taking a chance with this stuff. It's high quality charging, and it's a great item.
Yeah, I could use something like this, man. I need something that will charge all of my devices all at the same time. I was using the MagSafe Duo, the product that could have been cool but never became cool, that Apple then completely abandoned. And now I need something that will charge all my stuff at the same time, and this looks like a nice option. Man,
there's a bunch of sort of, I don't want to know what to say, but less well known brands. It makes sort of MagSafe trios, right? That look kind of they look pretty good, and I do like the fact that they fold up at least as small as this. That's the only thing, the only knock on this that I could possibly come up with is that it's a cube. It's not super small. You can't fit it in your pocket, right? But it is super secure, and it comes with a 30-watt power adapter. It comes with a cable, comes with everything you need, and it is nice to be able to have your phone in that mode and not just sitting on the desk, right? Not sitting flat like most of these chargers are. I really like it.
Yeah, we got Gurn in the chat. MagSafe Duo won't fast charge for watch or phone. I know, man. I know. And it's Lightning now, so it's completely defunct. RIP. I'm going to sell mine on eBay. I'm not even going to keep it because
Lightning
is dead. MagSafe Duo's dead. It's a disservice and disgrace to the MagSafe pedigree. And it had big promises and it just never delivered, sadly. Holy moly. This is a big one. Lewis, are you sitting down? I can't tell.
I am sitting down.
Because I know you normally don't wear pants for this show. And I know sometimes that shows when you're standing up.
I swear to you, I've got pants on.
Okay, good, because you might get blown out of your chair here. We got a $50 super chat here. Wow.
Holy moly.
Well, it's $49.99 technically. But I feel like I'm justified in rounding that up. Daniel McNeely says, Merry Christmas and happy birthday, Jesus. Amen. Looking forward to an exciting 2024. Me too. Let's hope. It's definitely going to be exciting for many reasons. Thanks for always helping me make an informed decision about my Apple products. Well, I like that comment even more than I like the money. Look, I like the money too. Let's be honest. But that's one of my favorite things that we do on this channel, or I guess on this podcast.
Somebody feels informed after listening to us. That's an incredible achievement.
Yeah, I'm sure there are many who feel the exact opposite. But that's one of the things I love about our show and just podcasts in general that are like ours. Just like how we all just get to hang out together and talk about stuff that we like in a genuine way and let you know like things that we like and things that we don't like. So if we've helped you make a more informed decision about something, then I feel like we've accomplished something here. So thank you for that, Daniel McNeely. That's very generous. I think that might be the biggest one yet. And
Thank you.
We've gotten a bunch of super chats this year. I'm not trying to shill for super chats. I forgot that we even activated it until we started having people give us money. But I was looking through our backlog of super chats. I'm like, well, we actually got a bunch of super chats this year, which is the first year we've ever had that. I think we might even have enough for like a nice lunch maybe for the three of us. The three of us get together.
We picked the right town.
I mean, we'll probably have to still pay for the tip in cash. But the lunch, like that might be covered. All right. This is so tough, man. I could do a whole episode on this, on things that I love this year. There's so many things that I've used that I feel like we didn't get a good opportunity to talk about this year. And I was trying to think, is there something I could talk about that I haven't mentioned before? Because I could talk about things that I've talked about before. I thought about talking about my Fujifilm S20, which is a terrific camera, probably the best travel camera that you can buy. But I said, no, I'm going to do something new and do something that I don't think I've ever talked about before, because it's getting to a point where it's something that I actually do really love, and that is Xbox Game Pass. Xbox Game Pass. Let's see if I can bring this up. Oh, it's not going to let me do this. Hold on a second. Xbox Game Pass. Your connection is not private, so I must have done something wrong. There we go. So Xbox Game Pass is like it is a subscription that lets you play video games on either your Xbox or your PC or both. And for a long time, I just didn't really think the games that were provided were worth the price. The juice wasn't worth the squeeze. You know what I'm saying, Lewis?
Yeah, I'm
and
familiar with the phrase.
That has changed. I feel like, especially this year, Microsoft has been buying up the best studios left and right. And Sony's doing this too. Very soon, all studios will be owned. And they have not just a bunch of independent games in Game Pass now, but they're bringing like AAA titles to Game Pass. I'm playing Starfield, which is a Bethesda game, and I'm playing for it. I'm playing it free on Game Pass. It's like a $70 or $80 game. And there's a bunch of other games that are inside Game Pass that I would never have thought to play because they are not things that I would have necessarily spent money on because they're just not really my genre of game. And now I'm playing them. In fact, I'm going to talk about another one here for my next pick in the next round, a game that is so original and so refreshing, unlike any game that I've ever played, that it's something that I've been playing a lot of. But I feel like with Game Pass, one of the other things I really like about it is you can buy Game Pass Ultimate, which allows you to play games on your Xbox or your PC for free. And it will synchronize your save points in the cloud. So when you're playing, you can start playing on your PC and then go to your Xbox and pick it back up. And I never thought that would be a feature that I use, but I beefed up the Cult Commander this year for streaming purposes, but I'm also using it a little bit for gaming. And it's really cool to be able to play a game on my PC and then stop and then go into my living room and pick it right back up on my Xbox, right where I was. Like, that's pretty cool. The only other system that I know that's flexible in that way is the Switch, which is severely underpowered and can barely pump out 1080p video. And it's not that you can, it's not like two different platforms, but you can play it in mobile mode or you can play it docked. And I think having the Xbox Play Anywhere feature, I think that's what they call it. And then all of these cool games that they're constantly adding to Game Pass. The fact that they also just finalized their merger with Activision. So now all of Activision's games are coming into the service as well, including Call of Duty, which is a game that I love, but I refuse to spend $70 a year on. Now that Activision games are going to be rolled in, I'm like, this is a really great offering. I think they're charging $15 a month for Game Pass Ultimate now, although you can get deals on it. And and occasionally they have sales on it. Yeah. Oh, it's $16.99 a month. Wow. So it's a little bit more expensive. But anyway, if you're a gamer, I mean, you get all of the games that Microsoft makes, Activision soon makes, Bethesda, ZeniMax. There's just a ton of games. You get all the EA games via EA Play. I mean, it's just tons and tons and tons of stuff. And I feel like it's finally gotten to a point where it's worth the money. If you want to do Xbox only, it's $10 a month if you just buy it from Xbox. But like I said, there are sales on it where you can get it for way cheaper. But if you're a gamer, if you're a serious gamer and you want to take a break from Apple Arcade, like all the serious gamers are playing, I think this is a really cool option now. Especially how they're adding new games all the time.
A serious gamer who is unfortunately a Mac guy and a Nintendo guy. The two games that I'm really jealous that I can't play right now are Microsoft Flight Simulator.
Oh, yeah.
And Cities Skylines 2. Cities Skylines 1 was a Mac game. I played it on my 2015 MacBook Pro, but the sequel isn't Mac compatible anymore. It makes me sad.
Oh, that's funny because Cities Skylines 1 was one of those games that I never would have bought. I never would have played. And I picked it up on my Xbox, and it looks kind of old. Like, it's been around for a while. But I got super into it. I was like, this game's actually really fun and very strategic. And then I started moving on to other games. But I was waiting for Cities Skylines 2 to come out, which I think it came out like a month or two ago. So I've been meaning to go back to it because I know they improved like the UI and the graphics and everything. But that's one that I have on my list. I mean, Atomic Heart was good. Starfield, insanely good. Probably one of the best games of the year. Maybe even the best game of the year, in my opinion. But I digress. All right, next round.
I want to know how much time you spent with Goat Simulator 3.
Oh, I can't get enough of that game. Don't make me start doing my Goat Boy impression, Lewis. All right.
Might be a great way to take the year out.
Dude, Lewis loves the Goat Boy.
You are Goat Simulator 4.
There was an SNL sketch called Goat Boy done by Jim Brewer, right? And he was like this half goat, half human hybrid. I don't even know how he ended up being half. And he would just be talking about something, and then as he was talking, he'd be like, like these like compulsive goat sounds that he'd make.
That was hilarious, and you do a good job imitating that.
Whenever I do it, man, I know it's a sure thing for Lewis. Lewis loves Goat Boy. I had no idea. He's a huge Goat Boy fan. Okay, I'm sending it back to Griffin. Second pick, Griffin.
Okay,
And
this
final.
is something I definitely have talked about earlier throughout the year, honestly. Mastodon, it has been an incredible joy using Mastodon this last year instead of Twitter. My favorite third-party Twitter client that I was using before everything that happened was Spring, and I actually don't know the developer of it. I think it's just a small team, but it was reborn as a Mastodon client. So I have a high-quality app that I use on my iPhone and my Mac. I don't know what they're doing. I think it just syncs over iCloud, but like this is the most minute detail, but like the timeline syncing between the iPhone and my Mac is like so lightning fast that I'll be like scrolling on my phone using this app, and then I'll be like, wait, what's that going on in the corner of my eye? And I'll see like the Mac app updating like live as I'm scrolling on my phone. It's incredible.
Wow.
But yeah, it's an excellent app. One of my favorite features in this app is that on any post you can tap like share screenshot. It's like you don't have to manually screenshot a picture of a post or anything. There's a button that'll like do it for you and make it all high quality, and you can include the images at their full resolution and have like a nice shareable image, small stuff like that. But it's a social network. It's decentralized. Also in the tune of moving away from ad-supported media to independently run media. Mastodon is like this open source alternative. I'm on a really great server that I have a lot of fun on called attack.lgbt. Not all of my friends moved from Twitter to Mastodon. I'd say like about 2/3 of my follow list made it over, but everybody in the Apple tech circle that I read or followed, the people from the Six Colors, Mac Stories, the Relay FM podcast network, they all moved over there. I made a lot of new friends on the social network. And when I think back to Twitter, I think of all the clickbait algorithmic garbage that used to clutter my timeline, the obnoxious, like tacky ads, all that. I don't miss it one bit. It's been nothing but joy using this service.
Huh.
It's like what Twitter was in 10 years ago. You just see the list of posts from the people you follow and nothing else.
Imagine that.
I know, it's incredible. It's the technology from 10 years ago available to you today on Mastodon.
It's so relaxing over there on Mastodon, Lewis. It's just quiet, peaceful, quiet.
I would say, I have a lot of, there are listeners of the show who follow me on and, reply, have good talks on there. I've only been on Mastodon for a year and I already have like way more followers than I ever had on Twitter.
Oh, that's interesting.
And
Wow.
more engagement. Yeah. It's a lot of fun. Yeah.
I'd like to pitch social media.
Some people who followed me from my personal blog when I used to do that before I read at Cult of Mac follow me and engage with me on there. Shout out to Eric Schwartz. All right, you were saying?
I was going to say, if you want to follow Lewis, his new account's on Truth Social. You can go over there. You go over there and hear Lewis talk about politics on Truth Social. All right.
I've never understood the hatred of Twitter. I don't quite understand it. I think Twitter's an amazing tool, and
I like it too.
I don't think Elon Musk is an amazing tool, like so many people apparently. I think it all comes down to like hatred of Elon Musk, and I don't really understand why. But
I could tell you exactly why, but that's not what this podcast is for. So I better just stay out of that one and keep us on track here. I'm gonna move to you, Lewis, and you can pitch your second favorite and last favorite thing of 2023. Think about it, Lewis. This is the last one. It's going to be 2024 soon.
This whole thing has been very distressing to me. I've been trying to figure out like what to talk about, and I realized like I don't watch that many TV shows. I don't watch that many movies. What I mostly, my most normal entertainment is podcasts.
Yeah.
I listen to podcasts probably every day, and I've always liked radio. I listened to like the CBS Radio Mystery Theater when I was a kid. I don't know if you ever remember that. I listened to Coast to Coast AM with Art Bell. Loved that when he was alive. That was a crazy show. If you never heard that, it was fantastic.
I think maybe you got me turned on to that because I started listening to that on YouTube, and it was like weird. Isn't it like weird alien and like
all kinds of crazy stuff.
like paranormal stories and that type of thing. Yeah, it had a cool vibe.
Politics and stuff too. I mean, news of the day, whatever. That guy was great because he could talk to anybody about anything, and he would, he would give them their say, right? Even if they're saying something that's insane, he would talk to them, and if you could tell where he was going with certain lines of questioning and things. It was great. Anyway, that's all to say. I've been listening to podcasts a lot this year. I was going to mention a couple that I really like. One of them is, it's actually a radio show that gets ported to podcast. Radio, dying medium, right? It's very sad. But there's this show called The Armstrong and Getty Show. And it's a daily news, politics, stuff like that. They're libertarian, conservative, whatever. But the thing I like about them is they're not like dogmatic. They're not like I've listened to a lot of talk radio over the years. These guys approach every subject with like an open mind, and they're not afraid to like they're not like, Democrats bad, Republicans good. They're not dogmatic like that. They're not politically that way. They approach everything, I think, from a fair-minded place. They tell you exactly what they feel, and they do it all with a sense of humor. And the great thing about it's a radio show, so like it's 4 hours a day, right?
4 hours.
Yeah, they do.
They're almost as long as our show,
right? But so in podcast form, that's like maybe 37 minutes per hour, right?
Right.
Because it's all ads, right?
Oh,
Radio,
man,
the internet, radio is all ads. So I if I'm listening to this, I'm sitting there like making lunch or something, I'm listening to this podcast, and I'm constantly like, using my Apple Watch to jump forward 30 seconds, jump forward, ding, 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 jump forward 3 minutes, and it, suddenly back to content. I like those guys because they have a sense of humor. and it's a good way to like keep up on the news of the day without. I mean, I constantly read news on the web, but I just find them fun. They're based out of Sacramento. They've been doing this for like, I don't know, over 20 years. It's not like it's brand new or anything. But I really realized how much time I spend listening to it. It's almost like family members. It's kind of bizarre. And the other thing, they're Apple fans. And the one guy is a huge Apple fan, Jack Armstrong. And they talk about Apple stuff all the time. And it's weird hearing like, 3-4 days later after news breaks, you hear them talk about it. And you hear them talking about things, they got the same problems we do with Apple devices. But they also, I've actually had to correct them before. I was like, sending me, oh no, here's how this goes, right? But so to me, that's another compelling part of it anyway. So real quick, the other one that I've been listening to is called Trigonometry. Have you ever heard of this one?
I've heard of it. I may even have listened to it at some point, but it's been forever.
It's, this is two guys, can't remember their names, Konstantin Kisin, and I can never remember the other guy's name. It's terrible. Why do I have such a hard time remembering his name? Francis Foster. That's why. They've billed their show as honest conversations with fascinating people. And, this is way more podcasty. It's even like kind of NPR-ish in that it's very, the sentences are long, the ideas are big. They have all kinds of guests, from super left to super right. Their whole thing is like, let's talk about things. Let's be civil. We can agree to disagree. And I think we need a lot more of that in this particular time in our nation's history. I'm kind of sick of the whole, like, everybody fighting, everybody calling people names. So it's very, I mean, they talk about things that are interesting with interesting people.
Well, they had Leno on. Wow.
And it's all over.
They got Leno on. Holy cow.
All over the place. They're doing pretty well, I think.
I guess so, but they have fewer ratings than us.
I mean, these guys are.
We should have Leno on.
They haven't been doing it as long. They also. So those guys are actually comedians, right? But they've written books and they ask a lot of interesting questions, and they're not afraid to call things how they see them. But they also let people say what they want to say, right? And they also call them like a free speech podcast. They have controversial guests on there sometimes. Then they have people who are not controversial at all. But it's all done in a very sort of civilized manner. So if I'm in a mood for something fun, I listen to Armstrong and Getty. If I'm in the mood for something a little, Saturday morning, I'm going to try to have a little more relaxing thing. I'll maybe listen to the other one. So anyway, I've talked enough about those two.
I keep seeing this one guy, Konstantin Kisin. I keep seeing him appear in like TikTok clips. And I've never seen him be funny. So that's pretty interesting. Like, I didn't even know he was a comedian. I just thought he was some kind of like cultural like commentator or something.
Well, I think they started out as that. And they are very much cultural commentators. I mean, they talk a lot about he's of Russian extract. He might have actually lived in Russia. I can't actually remember. I think he did. So talking about the Ukraine war, it's been interesting to hear his insights into that. I mean, it's been kind of a lousy year for news. I mean, it's all war and all nasty politics. And
yeah,
I find both of those two places, I don't know, I feel like they're a little bit fair-minded.
Yeah, sometimes you need a break. And you know what? I have noticed that there's a lot of like comedy podcasts and comedians who are just being a lot braver with their content these days and making things that they know might offend some people. Whereas before, I think everyone was kind of scared to say anything that could offend anyone. And there have been a lot of comedians who are moving away from that, which it's hard to make comedy if you're afraid of offending people, I think. Like, comedy has to be real.
It's basically impossible.
Yeah. I mean, maybe you could make some jokes that might be kind of funny, but it is kind of a difficult thing to do. Okay, well, you guys are like pitching like all these like culturally relevant things. I don't really have anything like that. I mean, I could come up with something, but I'm going to just tell you about the stuff that I've been into. And I thought we were going to go good, bad, and I forgot. That's my fault, because now we're going to end up doing 2 rounds of things that we didn't like this year, and we're going to end the podcast on a sour note, which I didn't want to do.
Oh, terrible.
But that's okay. We can liven it up with I mean, look, that's what we do, right? Doesn't matter what we're talking about. It ends up being hilarious. Am I right, Lewis? Okay, so my other pick, as promised, is a game that I never would have played. It's on Game Pass, and it's so refreshingly original that I have kind of been hooked on it. It's called Jusant, Jusant. It's available on Game Pass, as I said. The developers Don't Nod, and it's a game that I never in 100 years would have looked at, would have cared about. It is a vertical climbing game, and they have like this really ingenious controller mechanic for climbing, and the premise of the game is essentially all the water, at least in this world, has basically like receded. Like all the oceans are gone. I don't know if they still have lakes. I'm not that far into the game. And everyone lives like high up on these huge peaks now. And this person is essentially spending most of the game climbing these peaks and trying to reach different villages within this massive mountain to look for clues. The game is very fanciful. Like it's almost like Myst in a way. It's like very mystical and fantasy driven. There's all like kind of like this cool fantasy sci-fi technology. You have this little critter that comes along with you on your shoulder that has like the power to like like telekinesis. I guess it's not telekinesis because you're not moving things, but like the power to like to show you where you need to go in the game and to help you solve puzzles, because there are puzzles that you need to solve in the game, and especially from a climbing mechanic, like you have to figure out how to go from like one place to another. And you have to make sure that you plant like your carabiners in the right places. I'm not a big climbing person at all. In fact, there was a group of guys that I knew that wanted me to go climbing with them at like one of those places where you climb a wall. And I'm like, dude, you want me to pay you to come and climb on your wall? Like that's not happening. It's terrible. It's like, it's super hard. Your hands hurt, your legs hurt, and all I'm doing is climbing up these hard, like wooden things, or these hard climbing things that are screwed into your plywood. I'm like, no, that's not for me. But for whatever reason, this game really resonates with me. It's strikingly beautiful. There's no talking at all. There's actually not even a lot of music. It's just the breeze going through the mountain as you climb, looking for clues to figure out like what happened in this world. And it's been one of the most fun games I've played this year. Even my kids like it. They were sitting me watching me play it, and they were just mesmerized as we just scaled these massive cliffs and swung around on ropes and tried to figure out how to like make it into these little caverns on this mountainside. And if you have Game Pass, it's free to play. And this is another great example of why I've been enjoying Game Pass. I'm not trying to sell you anything. I don't care if you buy Game Pass. But because games like this pop up all the time, and you'll be like, oh, like, I don't really know if I'll like that. And you'll try it because it's included for free, and then you end up loving a game from a genre you never would have played, which is one of the things I think is really cool about Game Pass, is the fact that there are a lot of games that you'll play that you won't like, and then you'll run across a gem like this. And actually, I would say the people who run Game Pass do a really good job at pulling in really unique and beautiful indie games so that you have experiences like this not irregularly. You'll find games quite a lot that you actually really like that you would never have thought you would like. And so if you want to check it out, it looks like it's on sale currently on Steam. Are they having their winter sale right now? They might be. Maybe it is ongoing. I didn't know that. I didn't even think about that. It's normally $35 or $25. Sorry. It's on sale for $20 right now on Steam if you don't want to, get it on Game Pass or something. But if you have Game Pass, check it out. If you are a PC gamer, I would also recommend that you check it out. I think $20 is kind of about right for this game, although $15 would be better, I think, for what it is. But a very beautiful, unique game. Jusant, Jusant. That's my second pick. God, 2 gaming picks.
Yeah, I'm good with any game that you say doesn't have any dialogue or like barely any music in it, because I think one of the most seminal gaming experiences of my life is playing Super Mario 64. Virtually no NPC dialogue. It's just you playing Mario, going through this bizarre, surreal 90s platforms. Any game that I play with like a lot of NPCs or people talking to you, it's like, get out of my way. I don't want to talk to you. That's
why I play Call of Duty. Not a lot of talking going on in that game. You know what I'm saying? Lots of grenade
Those-
throwing,
it's a
headshots.
Very different experience to Super Mario 64.
That's
so
true.
I understand.
All right. Well, we got two things that we each dislike this year. Do you want to just do them together and then go person to person, or do you guys want to do a round table and do one each again? I don't really have a.
We can keep the round robin going.
Okay. Guys, Eric Granada says, guys, I played Outer Wilds recently and it changed my religion. Wow. What religion is it in the
Whoa.
game? Is Outer Wilds... okay, I was thinking Outer Worlds or Outer Limits is the other one that I have had on my list. I always get that confused with Outer Wilds. I have that on my playlist too, Outer Wilds. I think I bought it on Steam. Okay. Let's go back to Griffin then for his first thing that you didn't care for this year.
Okay. This is going to be a bit of a weird one. I'm going to put a link in our show notes here that you can click on.
All right.
This is a person who has been really irritating me on social media.
Wow, he's going for it, man.
This is very personal. I'm going to single this guy out.
This
guy
goes to
is-
Lewis's Twitter profile. What is this?
This guy
Wait a
is
minute. I'm
named-
sorry. You're calling out one person?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Let's do it, man. Light him
This
up.
guy
Wow. This
is
is getting
named
personal.
Michael Darius, and he has been like the source of a bizarre fascination with me and a friend of the show, Sam Henry Gold. So this guy has been going viral on Threads for a few months now, and this guy's a total hack. You can tell he's a pretentious asshat because he has on his website a picture of Steve Jobs on the cover of Rolling Stone with the caption, "I put my boss on the cover of Rolling Stone magazine."
I'm looking for it.
That's where I'm going to start, because this guy sells himself as being the personal protege of Steve Jobs. And he has like all of these, his whole bit is that on Threads and like social media, probably Twitter too, he talks about his time at Apple history. So this guy worked, like I looked into it, he only actually worked at Apple from 2000 to 2005. And he worked on the iTunes Music Store and iTools, GarageBand, and later he claims to have worked on OS X Panther. Like, okay, if you think about it for a second, do you think Steve Jobs' protege was, Scott Forstall, who he ate lunch with famously every day, or what's her name? Katie Cotton, who basically invented modern Apple PR? Or do you think it was some random guy who worked on iTools? That just doesn't make any sense. So like half the headshots on his webpage are AI generated, which is just weird. And and the thing is, this guy just doesn't even know what he's talking about half the time. Like he was going on Threads about how the iPod Hi-Fi invented the premium iPod speaker market, which is just flat out not true. Like Jason Snell was like getting in beef with this guy about it, like calling him out on it. And then he subsequently got blocked, which is just hilarious. He was talking about how the iPod Hi-Fi was discontinued because Apple didn't want to interfere with the Beats acquisition, which is just flat out wrong, because the iPod Hi-Fi was discontinued in 2007. Beats had only been in business for 1 year. They hadn't shipped a product yet, and Apple didn't acquire Beats for like another 7 years later. So like, where are you just coming up with this crap? Like,
Wow. He's
some sort of he claims to be some sort of Apple genius. And here's the thing: if you go to his website and you click on any of like these blogs,
I just noticed this. Yeah.
it goes to a page where you can book an hour-long design consulting meeting with him for $500 an hour.
I think you should.
I
post
mean,
one.
he's
I think I
Steve
should
Jobs' protege. I think that might be
Okay.
worth it.
So here's the thing: I reached out to a few notable Apple employees who I know worked at Apple on similar projects as him at the same time. I reached out to Lisa Melton on Mastodon. Lisa Melton, practically the inventor, like she is as close as you can get to like the person singularly responsible for creating Safari on a Mac. So same time period. And she said, and I quote, "I have no memory of someone by that name, but certainly he wasn't some kind of protege of Steve Jobs, because I certainly would have known him, and Scott Forstall was about the only person who could lay claim to such a title." I reached out to another person, Cricket, who that's what he goes by, and he has a blog.
Jiminy?
He has a blog like Tech Reflect, where this person has worked on the Mail app on OS X. They worked on Aperture, all around the same early 2000s time period. And it doesn't get any better than this, who said, his resume on LinkedIn is definitely 100% spin with maybe a tiny sprinkling of truth. Nobody that talks about themselves like that lasts at Apple for very long. We never hire pretentious blowhards like that. Just for fun, I searched old email and I see only 6 emails from him ever, all to an Apple internal humor mailing list. There is probably no one that worked on the Mac that I don't have dozens of emails from. I have more direct emails from Steve Jobs than that.
I mean, I can't tell if this guy's trolling or not, but I do love that his whole page is just littered with images of Apple. And I don't know if any of this stuff has anything to do with him at all.
Yeah, maybe projects he worked on, like,
and also
as
pictures
one
of
person
him
amongst a team of like dozens of other people. But then like he has pictures of like .Mac or all these Apple software boxes that.
And I do love it if you click one of the images because you're like, oh, I want to read more about what he did here. The title was I put my boss on the cover of Rolling Stone, and it's a picture of Steve Jobs and Rolling Stones. And you click it, and it takes you to, like Griffin said, a page where you can try to schedule time with him for $500 an hour. And I'm like, why would I click on an image where I wanted to read more about the story that you teased and then book an hour of time with you? That is a great logical disconnect. Like, what am I doing here? Why would I want to pay you for anything? Although, should we pay this guy $500 to come on our show for an hour?
I like it.
Maybe I can get him give us a deal.
Oh my God, design partner.
He's
Silicon
Apple
Valley
pioneer.
Portfolio firm.
And it gets so gross. He posted a video on Twitter where he was like plugging some AI garbage that he's been working on, using a deep faked video of Steve Jobs, using his voice, like cutting it in with video from like a Apple keynote, which is just gross.
It's bizarre, man.
Yeah.
Well, his calendar's wide open. We can literally pick any day we want.
Big
Write a book
surprise.
one.
He is available from
See if
9
you
to
can find
4
a
p.m.
spot.
literally every single weekday. He's booked up in December,
Oh
but
my God. Does
in
he
January he's wide open.
he probably lives like right down the street from me.
Yeah, probably knows Leander. Leander probably interviewed him for the book.
Oh my God.
Oh man. Okay. Well, I never
This
even
is
heard of this
disturbing.
guy, which is surprising because as an Apple pioneer and a skeuomorph, is that the same as a? It's the same as that thing in the Aliens, skeuomorph. No, maybe not. Xenomorph.
Xenomorph. Yeah. So, did you read his little description of himself?
Well, which
Michael's
one?
techniques-
There's
Michael's
multiple.
techniques have been proven to uncover
Describing him as a
connectors
skeuomorph is
in order to inform a company's overall business strategy while strengthening the ties between products, brands, and audience. For many breakthrough product experiences we have come to know and love, such as the original versions of iTunes, GarageBand, iCloud, and iLife. That's probably about a 70-word sentence.
Well, I wonder if this guy's making any money. He might be onto something. I might have to create a little website for myself where you guys can book me for $800 an hour to talk about my personal relationship with Steve Jobs. All right, that's Darius Design. What an oddball.
Wow.
I like these pictures he has of himself on here. All right, Lewis,
I cannot
on to
even
you
come close
for
to
your
that.
first pick of worst things of 2023.
All right, this is something I did not like in 2023. Apple hiking all of its services prices.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Apple One Premier, the one that I've got, I've had for ages, since the very moment they launched it, went from what, $29.99 a month to I think $37.99 a month, which is fair increase. Not a fair, a large size increase is what I'm trying to say. I said fair, but I meant fairly large. $37.95, right? So I'm still saving $29 a month because I get all these things that also got jacked up in price throughout the year. I mean, what do they charge? I don't even know what they charge for Apple News Plus these days. It's something outrageous. Oh yeah, $12.99 a month. Apple TV Plus this year went from what, $6.99 to $9.99.
Yep.
I mean, I didn't even realize this. Music is now $16.99 a month. I mean, wow, they just jacked them all up. It's crazy. Anyway, I think I like that Apple One Premiere. I've like I said, I've used it forever, and I like the fact that I can listen to my Apple Music. I like the fact that I could do a Apple Fitness Plus workout if I feel like it. Obviously, haven't been doing them much lately. I like the fact that I can read Apple News Plus once in a while, when and if I have time to read a magazine story. I of course use iCloud every day, and honestly, they couldn't give me a little bit more storage when they jacked up my thing.
Why give you more storage when we can charge you for that, Lewis?
Right, that's terrible. TV Plus, $10 a month. I mean, it was great at $4.99 a month. It's not a bad deal at $6.99 a month, $9.99 a month. Oh, it's starting to be expensive.
Starting to get
All
up
these
there.
things getting expensive. I mean, Apple
Mhm.
TV Plus just by itself has now moved itself into the, I don't know if I need to keep this zone, right? I mean, it's a shame. I mean, I know that Tim Cook likes to make his money, and Apple likes to pull in a bunch of cash every month, and they've been naked about how they're going to make money off services. But I don't know. I'm feeling a little bit ripped off this year because that is a substantial price hike, and I'm not. Am I getting anything more for it? No. I mean, I guess there's a couple of extra Apple TV Plus shows that I don't watch. Another season of Slow Horses, that's good. But I don't know. I find that to be one of the big disappointments of the year.
Well then, what a great segue from yours into mine. Because I was going to do this as my second pick, but you teed me up perfectly. Because one of my big complaints about 2023 is that the state of streaming, just all streaming services, we're in this weird place where we are redoing cable TV, right? You pay for these ad-free experiences, and then they keep raising the price, and now they're introducing ads again. Like, ads were gone. That's what I was paying you for. And all of these walled off ecosystems, if you want to watch their content, now you have to go and pay for every single one. They all think that their systems are worth $10, $15, $20 a month, and they're not. Everyone's trying to figure out how to make money because network television is dead and nothing is ad supported anymore, although we're getting back to that place now. And everyone always starts with the low cost. It's like, oh, my streaming service is just $5 a month, like Apple TV. And then they start raising the price and raising the price and raising the price. And then they do what Disney Plus did this year, is they jack their fee for the non-ad service way up, and then they introduce the ad-supported service, which just happened to be the same price as it was before, but now it's with ads. And so now you got to pay for this content, and it's more expensive than ever, and now you're watching ads. And then in the future, they're going to start including more ads and more ads and more ads. And soon we're going to be fully back to cable TV. We're slowly migrating from cable TV exists on TV to cable TV just existing on the internet. And Apple, we heard a rumor earlier this year that Apple is thinking about starting to bundle these services together. I mean, what a great novel idea, just like cable TV. I'm sure there'll be plenty of shopping channels and golf channels for you to watch on your new Apple streaming service. I would be shocked if Apple didn't introduce a ad-supported tier this year for Apple TV Plus. So they'll jack up the rate for Apple TV Plus to like $13 or $14.99, and then the $9.99 tier will include ads of some kind. Although I could also see Apple not doing that because showing ads is so distasteful, and it's something that Apple really hasn't done across many of their other services, except for in the in the App Store. So I could see them not doing it, but I'm just sick of this, man. Amazon Video is at the end of, I guess, the beginning of January, going to be churning on ads for all people who use Amazon Video. And if you want to turn the ads back off, now you got to pay them $3 a month. I'm just so sick of all the nickel and diming across all these different streaming services. And I get that everyone needs to make money. I don't know what the answer is, but I am sick of having to subscribe to all these different platforms. And now you subscribe and they want to show you ads. And it's like, dude, I don't want to watch ads. I don't want my kids watching ads. So I'm not really sure what the answer is, but everyone's trying to figure out how to monetize their content because the ad ecosystem has completely collapsed and no one can make ads or no one can make money that way anymore. And people have to make money to make content. Like, I get that. But I'm sick of it. Glenn says...
This is totally unrelated, and I'm just going to do a quick lightning round of best picks really quick. I really have enjoyed this year Transmission, which is an open source BitTorrent app for the Mac, the Otherworld Computing Thunder Bay 4, which is an affordable RAID storage for your Mac for a lot of local storage, and Plex, which is a really great way to stream local video files on your Mac across the internet.
Wait a minute, I'm confused. These are things you like.
I disavow.
Yeah. Sorry, I just had to put that in there. It just seemed relevant to the conversation for reasons that I can't
discuss.
discuss.
So to the things I hate. section of the thing.
I used to be an avid pirate on the seas, but I've gone straight. I've decided to pay for my content and not do that anymore. And they really do make it tough, man. I mean, I saw this video of oh man, I'm forgetting his name, Lewis. Not you, Lewis. The other Lewis from
Black?
what? No,
Lewis
no.
Black?
Your mind went to that. Oh my goodness, I'm forgetting his name. He's the Apple repair guy. Lewis. Help me out here, chat.
Apple repair guy.
The Apple repair guy, Lewis.
Is this a YouTuber? I don't know YouTubers.
Yeah, he's a YouTuber.
Oh.
Help me out, chat. Anyway, he did this video. He was trying to go straight, right? He's like, I'm not gonna steal my content anymore. I'm gonna pay for Netflix. And then he was complaining about how difficult Netflix made it for him to like watch shows without going through their app. Rossman, thank you, Captain Future from the future, here to save me. Lewis Rossman, thank you. His name was completely gone from my mind. And
That's
how
because he spells it wrong.
who Rossman does? Oh, the other Lewis. That is true. He's Loi, I think, which everyone knows is not the correct way to spell Lewis. And they make you jump through all these hoops. And then there was a story that we were trying to get to earlier this year. And we never got to it because we just never had a place to slot it in, about how Sony is essentially removing content that people purchased on their PlayStation and removing it from their digital libraries because they lost the license to like that content or something. And so even though the people had purchased the content, they were still going to lose it and they were not going to get reimbursed because of something that was happening with Sony. And I was just like, this is outrageous. People are trying to do the right thing. You're making it difficult for them. And now you're taking content that you've sold them and you're essentially just removing it without any compensation. That is so outside the realm of what is cool. Like, you can't tell people not to pirate and then do that kind of stuff to them. I've decided to pretty much only stick with Apple when I'm buying content because I don't think Apple would ever do that to us. And also, they tend to upgrade you to 4K streaming for free for anything that you buy from them, which is pretty handy. And they have really good sales all the time. If you go into the Apple TV app, you have to do it in the Apple TV app now. You can go to the sales section and look for movies that are $5, $6, $7. So they have a lot of great deals in there. So I don't know, man. It's just I love the ecosystem. I don't want to do Pirate Bay anymore. I don't know what to do. I just don't know what to do. But it's just not cool, the streaming ecosystem right now, and it's only getting worse. Everyone keeps jacking up their prices, and to your point, Lewis, everyone jacked up their prices this year, but you're not getting anything from them for it. You're just getting a higher price, and I mean, Netflix wants $20 a month for their 4K streaming service. You'd have to be high on crack cocaine, I think, to pay Netflix $20 a month for what they give you. Now, that's just my opinion. Their library is decent, but $20 a month for one streaming service, I just think that's too much. So in that ecosystem, Apple still seems like they're a pretty decent deal.
Apple's in the best spot here because they don't need Apple TV Plus like Netflix needs its streaming business. So
yeah, and I would say they actually have the best shows right now. All the shows that I want to watch right now, well, not all of them, but a majority of them are on Apple TV Plus. Severance, Silo. Where's the other one? I'm trying to remember the other one. That Foundation. Although I made it about 2 episodes into that show, and I was like, this show is horrendously boring and confusing. So I stopped watching it.
I'm
For all
gonna have to give that
mankind.
one another shot at some point.
I think I might too, but so far I was like, the writing and the casting in this show is so bad, I almost can't even watch it. It's almost unwatchable. Every time I watched it with my wife, she got annoyed because I kept complaining, and she's like, "Why are we watching this show?" I was like, it's like a traffic accident. I can't take my eyes off it. It's so bad. Anyway, all right, last round. Things that we didn't like in 2023. Take it away, Griffin.
all right, this is going to be
We're going
a simple pick here. We've been going long here. The feeling of being trusted to drive a stranger's car alone after you only met them earlier the same evening.
This is
The
right
details
up
of-
Griffin's alley.
exactly how this happened aren't entirely important, but like this happened to me earlier this year, and it was one of the more surreal driving experiences of my life. Not only because I was driving some like old crummy Jeep SUV I didn't know where anything was, but I kept thinking to myself, what happens if I get pulled over in this moment? Here I am driving like a friend of a friend of a friend's car, and I don't even remember their name, much less know whether they have proof of insurance, in the glove box if I were to get pulled over. Not a great driving experience.
Well,
I've had a lot of great driving experiences. This
jail
year,
is
but,
always an
it's-
option. Have you
I've never
considered
seen you
jail?
sweat, but I can imagine it in that situation.
Mhm,
Were you
mhm.
driving at night down a Highway 77?
It's-
Like
I-
a bat
it,
out of
it would
hell?
it would have been nice if I was driving down 77. No, it was just some windy back roads in Athens.
Don't tempt him,
not a
Lewis.
great
Don't
time.
tempt him with a new pick. We've been live for 2 hours. Please. He's gonna start talking about his favorite back roads, his favorite back road country music song combinations. Which actually I could get into that, but we're running out of time. Lewis, on to you. Last
All
pick.
right. I started out this as a sort of a combo best and worst because what I'm talking about is San Francisco.
Yeah.
I've lived in the city for a long time, and as I was thinking about this, this is kind of that like tale of two cities. It was the best of times, it was the worst of times this year. It's still a beautiful city, great weather, but lots of homeless people, lots of poo on the sidewalk. So they did clean up pretty nice for when the Tommy
Xi
dictator
Jinping?
Xi came to town. Another thing I love about it, very small. You never have to drive very far. I mean, it's 7x7 classically, right? And most of my trips in my truck are probably 8 miles at most. However, roads are garbage. We're talking about back roads. You drive through San Francisco, it actually feels like you might throw your back out. Some of these potholes are so insane. And I'm talking about in a truck. If you ride it on a motorcycle,
You're
it's
done
actually
for.
life-threatening.
Yeah.
Even my wife, she rides a bus all the time, right? She's like, we were coming back from an opera or something. But don't get me started on an opera. We're riding down Mission Street, big. It's a humongous street, right? She's like, "Oh yeah, this is terrible. You're gonna hate." And yeah, we're just like this. It's like you're riding on some kind of back road, not maintained by the county in Ohio. Just absolutely horrendous. Let's see. San Francisco, famous for all kinds of cuisine, right? But if you go anywhere but a taqueria or some kind of hole in the wall, you're going to blow out your bank account. It's unbelievable how talk about the rising prices. The prices of everything in San Francisco have gone through the roof. Leander was telling me that he went to this place, he had a sandwich. I said, well, how much was it? $20.
Yeah. Same here in Seattle. Same here in Seattle.
For a sandwich. It's outrageous. Burritos are still, they're much more expensive than they used to be, but they're still kind of a good deal because basically everyone's 2 meals. Let's see. San Francisco Darts Lake still going strong. That's fantastic.
There's a silver lining.
But we lost some big things this year. We lost Nordstrom, which is this gigantic. There's this mall on Market Street downtown, right across from the cable cars. Which one reason got me thinking about this is Suzanne and I went down to the Union Square area, over the Christmas thing. Big Christmas, whatever. Okay, well, so we went down there. I hadn't been down there in months, right? Because I basically stay in my little place and I go to darts bars, and that's pretty much it. We went down there, and it's like, okay, it was kind of cleaned up. It seemed nicer than the last time I remember it. Not nearly as many people. It's kind of hyper local in that way. Like one block this way, it'll be a nightmare. One block that way, it's fine. But so there's this place called San Francisco Center, gigantic mall, gigantic. Nordstrom used to have like, I don't know, 3 or 5 floors or something. This place is like 50% vacant or something now.
Wow.
I don't know.
It's turning into a dead mall.
It's bizarre, man. And we were walking through. It's like there's this beautiful rotunda. They built. There's a plaque. When they rebuilt this thing, they kept the rotunda and they kept it there as this great symbol of the city and whatever. And it's like there's nothing in there. There's all around it. Every store closed. There was an old movie theater up there. I used to go there all the time when I was reviewing movies and stuff, and because they always have press screenings. completely shut down. And you could just like wander through the old concession area, right? You could walk in there. There's nobody around, no security guards, no nothing. It doesn't look like it's been vandalized or anything. It doesn't look like some kind of, completely abandoned thing, but it's just eerie. It's like, what's going on? This whole thing, and walking down the streets of the Union Square area. I mean, yeah, there's the Apple store, gigantic, beautiful Apple store, always busy, right across from Union Square, or right on Union Square. But then like the streets leading up to it, I mean, there were like entire streets where just, it seemed like there wasn't even a single storefront that was open. I mean, just boarded up. Actually, there's a Walgreens that was boarded
wild,
up,
man.
that boarded up and was still open somehow. That was really weird. But mostly it's just, paper in the windows, available for lease. It's crazy, man. I don't know. I hope the city turns around because it's still beautiful. The weather's still fantastic. It's got a lot of pluses and minuses.
Yeah, it's one of the most beautiful cities in the world.
It's really bizarre how it's changed in the past 5 years.
That's crazy. And it's been a long time since I've been there, and I see pictures and videos and stuff now of what it looks like, and it looks like it's been hollowed out. Like there are just a lot of people who have left. And I think a big part of that is COVID because office buildings are empty, right? And when you leave, when you have major population centers migrate to other places, it's harder to have those businesses stay alive. And malls all across America are dying. There are malls north of Seattle that are just totally dead. And you go there and there maybe are 2 or 3 shops that are still open and all the rest are open. And I'm like, what are they going to do with all of this retail space? What do you do with a mall that no longer has anyone that goes to it?
I know. It's weird, man. It makes you, it's oddly, it's like, you start thinking like, well, maybe think about all the things that could happen here, right? If they would allow the rents to be reasonable. I mean, that's one reason everybody's going out here. It's like, oh, well, the pandemic's happened. And so, 50% of the people moved out of the city and are working remotely. Nobody comes downtown for lunch, right? So like, oh, but my rent's still as high as it was. So these places just, they can't stay in business. And when I was in Ohio a couple weeks ago or whatever, everybody I run into was like, but is San Francisco really as bad as it seems?
Yeah, in fact, the chat has been asking pretty much that exact same question.
It's kind of, depends on what block you're on. It depends on what you want to do. But this city has some serious work ahead of it if it's going to right itself.
I mean, there's so many parallels to Seattle, and I know what you mean. I mean, people say Seattle has gotten really bad, and it has. But a lot of the problems are specific to certain areas, and if you go outside those areas, then it's fine. But man, we're going super long here. But you know what? It's the end of the year, baby. End of the year.
Ease into it.
So I've been doing these night walks to get some extra exercise, and it's like the only time I have time to go on walks and I'll do like an hour and a half walk, right? Keep your heart rate below 135. Great way to burn fat, by the way. So I was on this walk, and I live I'm not like in an upscale neighborhood, but I live in like a upper middle class neighborhood in Seattle. We bought right before the market took off. Could never afford our house now if we had to, right? And it's safe. You could walk around at night. There's no problems. In fact, I walk around in the middle of the street because we have so little traffic. Like I just literally walk around in the middle of the streets and no cars ever even come by. So the other day, this is probably like a week ago, I am walking up this street and this car starts coming up the street behind me and it's like acting really erratically. It's like flooring it and then stopping and then flooring it and stopping. And I was like, what is going on here? I'm starting to get a little bit nervous, right? I'm starting to watch my back a little bit. And it pulls up right next to me. These guys get out. And I couldn't really quite tell what they were doing. And then they get back in and then they floor it and they go up another like 100 feet and they stop. And I was like, oh shoot, these guys are casing these cars. Like they get out. I don't know what they're looking for, but eventually they drove far enough away from me where I couldn't really tell what they were doing. But about 30 minutes later, I encountered them again. I come around the corner and the car is sitting right there and the guys are out of it. And I see them smash a window of this truck right in front of me. And I'm like, I'm not trying to get shot tonight. So I immediately like turn and go down this other street because I come around the corner with like a big flashlight. And it's shining right on them. And I don't want them to think that I'm going to be doing anything to stop this crime, because I feel bad for the guy in his truck, but like, I'm not trying to stop this crime right now, right? I got 4 kids. Like, I'm going to go ahead and just peace out of here. And these guys were just literally driving around my neighborhood for probably an hour, one car after another. Break a window, steal everything out of it. Break a window, steal everything out of it. And I had no idea. I've never seen anything like that in Seattle before. But my point being that crime existed in a lot of areas in Seattle that I didn't really get to see because I didn't go to those areas. And now it's getting to a point where, because crime is kind of out of control in Seattle, that they're going into these other neighborhoods. And so I called 911, and I was shocked they actually sent a cop over, because they don't usually do that unless you're actively getting stabbed. If you've already been stabbed, they don't come. If you're actively being stabbed, they might come. And I got a picture of the car as best I could. It was at night, and it was kind of blurry, and I could only tell like the first 2 or 3 digits. And I was like, hey, I got a picture of their license plate. He's like, oh yeah, we know exactly who it is. And I was like, what? How? He goes, we've been getting calls about these people all day long. They stole a car, and they've been driving all around all these neighborhoods, just breaking into cars all day. So who knows how many cars they broke into.
Wow.
And I've never seen that type of thing in Seattle before, at least not in my area. And they're going outside of areas that you would typically see stuff like that happening, into other neighborhoods, and they just do whatever they want, and nothing seems to happen. So it's a very similar story. And the downtown, same as San Francisco, being hollowed out. You go down there, lots of buildings with plywood on the windows and stuff now. It's like Walking Dead down there, man. I mean, literally, because like you'll see tent cities and people who are just like drugged out of their minds, doing that zombie walk, talking to themselves. I don't usually go downtown very often, but yeah, Griffin, go for it.
I know I'm not a city boy, you know, I'm out here in the Ohio countrylands, but so stop me if I'm wrong, but here's a radical idea. The city municipality buys the abandoned buildings, and then they convert it into public housing, and, you know, solve 2 problems in one fell swoop.
Well, I mean, they might be doing that. They are trying to figure out how housing is going to work. But I think this goes beyond the scope of this program, actually. I have solutions I would propose, but that is an interesting idea. They are trying to add more housing. I think a challenge with adding more housing is the more housing you add, the more people realize they can go to your city to have free housing. And so eventually you're just providing everyone free housing, and they're doing drugs in the housing and stuff, and it becomes hard to manage and never ending, because if you provide resources to people, people come to you for resources, right? So it's like the circular thing. Cyclical. That works, man. Cyclical, right? Right?
I mean, you provide a resource and people use it. I fail to see how that's a problem, but...
Well, because resources have to be paid for, and the more you provide, the more people want them. And so eventually you have people coming to your city. I think this is a problem in cities where a lot of resources are provided. People will intentionally go live in those cities because they can get resources, right? So instead of helping those people, some people would argue that you're enabling those people, because now they don't have to change their lifestyle.
A hardworking boy like Griffin just can't understand it, because, you know, he's not going to do trank and wander around half naked.
I think you've made one too many assumptions. I don't know anyone that does more trank than Griffin. He buys those like those tranquilizer dart guns, and he literally just shoots himself right in the neck.
That explains the calm demeanor.
And he tries to stay awake as long as possible before he crashes, man, because the hallucinations that you get right before you crash are the best ones. All right, let's see here. I think that is that everything? Oh no,
I don't know if you had a last worst pick.
Oh my goodness! I didn't even pitch my last worst pick.
Wow.
Okay, I'll wrap it up quick. My last worst pick for 2023. It's something that I love, but I've grown to really dislike it this year. Is Amazon Prime, man. Amazon Prime used to be the gold standard. It was so incredible. You pay one fee, you get 2-day shipping no matter what you order. I don't know what happened or when it happened. It might have been at the start of COVID, but boy, how far have we fallen from the standard that we once had. Now, you order a package, who knows when it's going to show up. It's definitely not 2 days. Like, if you're lucky, it might be 2 days. But oftentimes it's a week, more than a week. And and I called them once and I said, hey, what's going on with my Prime, man? Like, nothing shows up in 2 days. And he's like, well, we don't promise 2 days. We promise it will get to you 2 days by the time we ship it. And I'm like, that was not the agreement that we had. Okay. And they keep adding all this. It's like golfing home shopping network stuff to the service, right? Stuff that they promote as features, but actually is complete garbage. Like Amazon Music, which is not Amazon Music because it's the Amazon Prime version of Amazon Music. If you want the full version, guess what? You got to pay. And now they have Amazon Video, which was a cool bolt-on, but now you want no ads? Oh, guess what? Now you got to pay us for that too. And meanwhile, they keep jacking up the price of Amazon Prime. I think it's $15 a month plus tax. It's not a small fee. So if you order absolutely everything from Amazon Prime, then maybe it's still worth it because you save on shipping. But here's the thing. Amazon ships for free for any order of more than $25. So if you don't need that one single item right away, then really you can just batch your orders together and have the exact same shipping speed as you did before. Like everything pretty much arrives when it would if you had Amazon Prime. So I'm just kind of thinking about Amazon Prime and I'm like, dude, what is the value proposition here now? Like this used to be a really awesome proposal. It's like, I give you a low fee, $80 a year, and everything ships for free in 2 days. But now we're so far from that, and I see a lot of people kind of feeling the same way. Like people are thinking, I'm not so sure that I need to subscribe to Amazon Prime anymore. It doesn't really feel like it's worth it anymore. What do you guys think about that? Is it just me?
It's funny. I bet my wife gets something delivered from Amazon at least every other day. Mm-hmm. And it's actually it's ridiculous. And if you drive, one of the problems with San Francisco is you drive around and like every block there's an Amazon truck or somebody else making a delivery, right? It's weird. I remember when Amazon was a super fantastic deal, like free shipping, whatever. Now, like you're saying, $139 a year. That's a lot of money. I mean, there are certain things that I get because I'm a Prime member, I guess, like the video. But now, like you say, now they're going to start charging me for that. It's odd. I never even actually considered dropping Amazon Prime, but maybe it's not a bad idea. I still like the fact you can go to you get an extra discount at Whole Foods, which I don't do very often, but that's worth something. There's something else. Oh, well, like free shipping on Woot. That's nice. But yeah, I mean, honestly, like if I think it might be time to tabulate all the pros and cons of all these things that I have, because I bet you I'd actually be stunned at how much we're actually paying every single month for streaming, Amazon Prime, all these little subscriptions. I mean, the whole like subscription creep. I've heard people talk about it, but I've never had the well, frankly, it's like, you don't want to go to the doctor because you're afraid. You don't want to go to the dentist because you're afraid.
Right.
I don't want to look at my monthly bills because I don't think I'm going to like what I see.
Well, maybe canceling Amazon Prime would work in your favor then, because then you wouldn't be getting Amazon deliveries every day, which might help your situation.
Well,
Griffin.
I don't know.
I don't subscribe to Amazon Prime. Oh,
you don't?
Sorry, I don't subscribe to Amazon Prime. I can't remember the last time I ordered something for myself personally on Amazon. I say drop it if you don't feel like you need it. I mean, I live in the middle of nowhere, so I never got the promised 2-day shipping anyways. I use Amazon for to order anything that wouldn't be carried in my local stores. And you know what? I've lived alone for a while. I already have everything I need. It's rare that I don't need anything consumable like food or that I can get at a hardware store like Menards, which is one of the nearest stores to me. So I don't really use Amazon.
Well, we actually get 1-day shipping, sometimes same day shipping in San Francisco. I mean, I have not had it. I've not experienced a slowdown in shipping here. I ordered some stuff in Ohio. It would always take at least a couple of days. But the speed of it getting to me is pretty darn good in San Francisco, and they're also very good about returns. I mean, so there are definite benefits to it. But yeah, I mean, do I really need to be a Prime member to get those? I don't know. Maybe
I mean, you're in a port city, so shipping speeds aren't going to be that slow anyways.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, if you're paying monthly, you should try canceling it for 2 months. This is what I tell people. Try canceling it for 2 months and just see what happens. Like, see how long.
See if I'd even notice.
See if you would even notice. Because if you're ordering things every other day, I bet you it would be pretty easy to batch your orders together so that you got free shipping anyway, and it arrives in the exact same time. And if you're not using any of the other stuff, then maybe it's not worth it for you. But I don't know, man. I just feel like it's another one of those subscriptions that just keeps going up and up and up and up and up and up. Okay, look, we got to wrap it up. But before we do, 2 quick things. First of all, David Howard coming in with a big old fat juicy 50. He didn't even do $49.99. He went straight for the 50. Another $50 super chat. And did you have a comment, David? No comment.
It's the best show ever.
No, nothing. He just gave us $50. He doesn't even want us to say anything. I could make something up. I once saw a picture of David Howard. He was coming out of the swimming pool and his quads were out of control. Veiny as heck, bulging. My goodness, no one should have quads that large. Thank you, David Howard, for that $50 super chat. Maybe that's the new standard. If you don't make a comment, I'll just make something up about you. That is probably true. With a name like David Howard, you probably have just massive legs. The other thing I wanted to say, another favorite thing, quickly, and since we're at the end of the show, I feel like this is the appropriate time to do this, is I just want to thank everyone who listens. This is not pandering. This comes from the heart. Everyone that is listening, that has supported us right from the very beginning. I think we're going on almost 13 years now. It's either 13 or 14. It's been so long I can't even remember, which is hard for me to fathom that we've been doing it for so long because I've moved through so many stages of life as a member of this podcast and as a huge fan of podcasts, which is one of the reasons why I started this one with LK. It's really cool to have a community of people that we get to hang out with every week and just talk about whatever tech stuff, Apple stuff. I would love to talk about more tech stuff in the future. And I have some ideas that I've been actively working on that I'll probably talk about in the new year as far as more CultCast content. I don't know how many of you want extra content. Some of you say, he's coming in, David Howard with the huge quads. I knew it. I don't know how many of you want more content. Most of our audience listens to the show and doesn't watch it live, so we don't get to interact with you. But there may be opportunities for us to do additional content in the future. And if that's something that you want, it would be great to hear from you about that stuff, either via Twitter or, I don't know, in the chat or something. I'm not sure what other mediums would work for you. I should put out like an iMessage address or something so people can just text me. But I do want to just express how grateful we are to have like our audience and to have you all with us every week, because I would do this show for free. And in fact, a lot of shows I have done for free. We don't have sponsors every show. And I just love getting together with these guys and chatting. And it's been great to have Griffin join the show this year, especially having him help me edit, which has been a huge weight off my shoulders because I've been doing it for so long. And now I can kind of focus on how we can expand the show outside of what we are already doing rather than just spending my time making the show, which is what I've been doing for forever. And I guess that's it. I just want to thank you all for being loyal to the show and for interacting with us in the chat and for listening and telling your friends about us and all that kind of stuff. I just really appreciate this community that we've built. It's really cool to be a part of it. And with that, I think we should go ahead and wrap up there. Look at Lewis. He's getting all misty-eyed. Oh, shucks. Apropos.
That's so corny.
The timing is incredible there. Lewis just activated the fireworks with a double thumbs up. My goodness, what a great way to wrap it up. All right, that's all the CultCast we have for you guys this year. But we'll be back next year with even more CultCast. And of course, the party, it doesn't stop. It just keeps rolling on. Me and Lewis are on the new X, duking it out. I'm at Irfan, ERFWin. Lewis is at Lewis Wallace. You can just Google D. Griffin Jones and all sorts of social media apps will pop up, some of which you probably should enjoy, I'll be honest with you. Some of which are probably safe, some of which are probably not. But this has been the CultCast, the best 30-plus minute app conversation you're going to hear all week long. New episodes of the CultCast come out every Thursday night. I want to thank you all for listening and for hanging out live. And we will see you guys next year. Thanks for the lulz. Uh-oh. Streamline just said something about the CIA, Lewis.
Oh, dear.
Oh, no. This is not how I want to end my year. I knew that they were listening via the Amazon Echo. It's not encrypted end-to-end, is it? I had a feeling they heard our conversations. All right, everyone. That's it. 2023 in the books. I'm hurtling towards the end broadcast button as we speak. I don't know if this is going to stop the stream. I guess we'll find out. words, Lewis?